Hey guys, this is Jeremy with the Friendly Neighborhood Gamers. Um, Today I'm going to show you one of my absolute favorite games. It's called Kerbal Space Program, and basically it's NASA. It's like a video game version of NASA. You can pretty much like build. You can build rockets and space planes and carry out space missions. And one of the things that a lot of people aspire to do when they play this game is to recreate some of the Apollo missions. All the Apollo missions made use of the beastly Saturn V rocket, which is gigantic. And that's kind of what I've done here. Is I rebuilt my interpretation of the Saturn V rocket to the best of my abilities and the best of the appearance of the parts that I use in Kerbal Space Program. I mean, I took a little creative liberty here and there, but for the most part, it's a pretty accurate look at the Saturn V rocket. It uses the same stages as well. Basically, today I'm going to try to go to the moon and come back without losing anybody. And I'm making use of the MechJeb plugin over here. It helps automate a lot of stuff like getting to orbit, transferring an orbit to the moon, landing, and stuff like that. And I can do all this by hand. It's just a lot easier to do it with MechJeb, especially for something like a video where I don't want to have to do like 8 takes of this video to get it right. So yeah, this is the my take on the Saturn V. I'll just break the stages up here. This everything below the green highlighted part, that is the first stage. That is the main stage that'll get us up to altitude to get into orbit around the Earth. Although in this case it's called Kerbal, I believe is the name of the planet. This is everything, or sorry, this whole thing I guess would be the first stage. And this part is dropped when you cut to the second stage. And the second stage is this part right here. This kind of bullet-shaped rocket. And within that is the lunar lander. And this is actually how the Apollo missions were done. The lunar lander was tucked here neatly in the second stage, and launched accordingly. And then this top part of the command module would dock with the lunar lander here, and together they would travel the rest of the trip to the moon, and then detach and then make the landing. But you'll see that here soon, because I'm actually going to do that, or attempt to. I did 2 test runs this morning, and both of them kind of turned out a little rocky. But I did this once yesterday perfectly, so hopefully that'll go well. Let's see here, I'll hit the launch button and get us started. Well, this is a weird problem I noticed, is that occasionally when I launch the rocket, it's way too wobbly. And that happens. It just kind of collapses. And the only thing I've been able to do is just revert it to launch and hope everything loads a little better this time. I mean, it's built stably. Like I said, I've gotten to the moon before. Alright, it's a little bit better. No? Well, okay, we lost a wing. That's okay. Let's skip ahead and make it a little... Nope, gonna crash again. Okay, that's embarrassing. Now I look like I don't know what I'm doing. Totally do, promise. Alright, try this again. Alright. Everything looks good. Lost our wings, but those really don't matter. Our winglets, I should say. Let's skip ahead to do a day launch, so you can actually see what's going on here. Okay. Like I said, I'm using MechJeb to automate a little bit of this stuff just to make it easier, help it go a little bit smoother. In some cases, the fuel levels are like razor thin in terms of how much we have versus what we can use. So it's helpful for me to just let the computer handle that to get very precise stuff. Oh, I screwed something up. My bad. I'm sorry. By default, it places your astronauts in the first command module that you build. And when I was building this rocket, the first thing I did was build the lunar lander because that is the most like complicated part of the ship. Just because it has the landing legs, the navigation system, the RCS system, all that goofy stuff. So I have to move my astronauts down into the proper command pod, which is this right here. Because before they were sitting down here in the lander. It's an annoying thing I have to set every time I try to launch this. Let me just check. Make sure this is... Okay, good. Things are going so smoothly. It's beautiful. Gotta do this again. Sorry about that. Alright, and we're ready to launch. Actually, guess story time. When I first got this game, I'd say about 2 years ago, it didn't have near the functionality it has now. All you could do was go to the moon. Now there's, let me show you real quick. You got the planet. You've got the main moon. That's kind of like the analog of our solar system. And then beyond that, there's a smaller moon that's a little bit trickier to get to, but a lot easier to land on, just because gravity's lower. And then you zoom out, and there's the star of the system, and then there's other planets you can visit. The closer ones are obviously easier to get to, but these outer ones can be really tricky. I've never even been to Joule or Elo. Maybe not even Dress. But anyway, let's get this launch ready. Let's fast forward ourselves to daytime. Alright. Alrighty. And here we go. Alright, and I'll probably speed this up just a little bit when I edit the video, just because this part's a little bit boring. It's about 2 or 3 minutes straight of just flying. And it's too bad that I wasted all that time having to relaunch, because I wanted to show the abort system. I built that kind of based off of the Apollo one. That's what this little tower here is. Basically, I have it wired so when you press this abort button, it detaches the command module from the rest of the rocket and activates 4 solid-state boosters, or solid engine boosters, solid rocket boosters, sorry, and it shoots the command module off away from the rest of the rocket. So, if there's an explosion at the bottom here, it shoots that off and gets the astronauts to safety. Obviously, in the game, losing astronauts really means nothing, so it's kind of a pointless thing, but I just, for accuracy's point, for the sake of accuracy, I wanted it added. We lost our winglets here. I have no idea why those keep falling off. Could be because it's built between the tank and the engine. I can't figure out which one they'll cling to, so they just drop off. Maybe I won't fast forward through. There's a lot I can talk about here. Okay, so basically for the last minute of flight, we were gaining altitude. We just wanted to get the rocket as high up as we possibly could. And in the map view, it shows a projection of where you're going. So you can see right now, if we were to turn the engines off, we would cruise to about 30 kilometers, and then we'd gently fall back. What we're aiming for is 100 kilometers. Hold on. Forgot to do this. Come on. Right now what we're doing is we're trying to build in addition to building altitude, we're trying to shoot the rocket out further around the planet. And eventually we want to get to what this ship over here has, which is orbit. And basically, the way to do that is we need to be going very fast around the planet, so we never crash back into it. At least not in the foreseeable future. As you can see, this is the second stage. We just ditched the first stage. This is the one that looks like a bullet. We are well on our way to achieving orbit. We can do show a view of the inside of the capsule. This is what our little astronauts see, which is not much because in space, window real estate is expensive. I do like this little camera. I mean, these windows here because they remind me of the windows in the actual lunar module or lunar lander. But this actual cockpit will never touch the surface of the moon. You can see here it shows all of our little readouts. That's our orbital speed. That's our atmosphere. Shows we have no more atmosphere. We escaped the atmosphere. Our speed, our time, that sort of thing. And right now, I think we can jettison our emergency system. Oh, nope, gotta wait till the clock speeds up. For parts like this, where the rocket just has to wait, Mech Jeb speeds time up, so you don't have to wait the full time. And during that time, you can't really do anything. Okay, so right now what we're doing is we're building more speed at the apoapsis of our orbit, and that is I believe that's the highest point in our orbit, and then periapsis is the lowest point. Could have that backwards. I struggle with those. So yeah, now we're in orbit at about 100 kilometers above the planet. And now I can ditch the abort system. It shoots off. Okay, and now is the neat part. We can kind of reveal the lunar module. You can see they're nestled neatly between the two stages. Okay. So now our rocket is split into two parts. This is the lunar module attached to the second stage of the rocket, and that is the third stage attached to the command module. So we'll switch here, get us a little bit, and keep in mind this is the part that the astronauts are on. Gotta get rid of it. Okay. Setting this. So now what we're doing is we are going to dock the two pieces together to create one ship again. And the significance of this is that we want to get this lunar module attached to the command module, and together they, without this huge rocket that we no longer need, are going to go to the moon together. And I believe in the actual Apollo missions, they did this at a later point. They created the thrust to extend their orbit out to the moon, and then on the way they did this maneuver. But for me, it's just the way I built the rocket. It's easier to do it this way because there's not enough fuel in the second stage to get us all the way to the moon. We have to cut to the third stage, which will not only get us to the moon but bring us back. It's interesting to see from the inside. Oh, well, sort of. Oh, there we go. So you can see the lunar module up there. In all its shiny glory. Oh, having a little trouble. Check here is our fuel levels. we have enough. We have good electrical charge. Electric charge is generated by the engine and these solar panels. And on the lunar lander here, I have a generator that generates electricity. Figured that was probably easier. Okay, what is going on here? Sorry about that. Yep. Usually goes a lot quicker. Figures, as soon as I start recording it, it goes to hell. And there's our target behind us. We're gonna have to orbit the planet once before we can actually attempt to make the burn to get over there. Let's see what else. Anyway, like I said, there's our electrical charge. Definitely want to keep that full, because holy crap, there's been so many missions I've played in this game where you get all the way to this, distant planet, or you get all the way to the moon or something, and then, stupid you, I forgot to add a solar panel or generator or whatever, and oops, no electric charge, and then, completely wasted the last half hour of my day doing whatever. Liquid fuel. An oxidizer, that's pretty much just the fuel for the engine. All engines require both a fuel and an oxidizer. When you're building like planes and stuff in this game, the oxygen comes from oxygen intakes, like a regular plane does. And you have a larger tank of just liquid fuel. But when you're out here in a vacuum, obviously there's no air, so you have to include an oxidizer agent to burn your rocket engines. We also have monopropellant, which is the RCS system, which is that rotation control system, I believe. That's what these little ports are for here. They navigate us around and maneuver a bit here. Very slowly, I might add, because this is usually a very quick thing. I think I screwed up and selected the wrong target, causing this issue. This part I will most definitely skip through. Okay, things are a little bit more on track than they were a minute or two ago. Had to cut out about 4 minutes of stupidity. I don't know what was taking MacJeb so long to take care of it. We actually ended up losing the sun, so we don't really have I don't have good light on that on the actual docking. But this, I always enjoy watching this. So it's weird to picture that, you know, two things going as fast as they are have the ability to just connect like that. And I know it's a little simple-ish just because, you know, relative speed matters more than their overall speed, but it's neat to me. Very neat. And we have connection. There we go. And two become one. And let us ditch the fuel and rocket off of the second stage. And here we are. We're ready to go. Let's get lined up here. Okay, like I said, in the actual Apollo missions, what would happen is that they do this later on. They would, oops, minimize. They would, wait to burn to get themselves over to the moon. And then on the way, while they're just waiting for it to, you know, to get there, they would do this maneuver of docking with the lunar lander. And then they'd just hang out in the command module until they got to the actual moon. And then one astronaut would, or two astronauts would climb over to the lander, and one would hang out in the command module. And in the case of Apollo 11, I believe the astronaut that stayed back was Michael Collins, and then you have Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong went into the lunar lander. But you knew that. You so knew that. Okay. So in Kerbal Space Program, there's a really nifty trick to get to the moon in this. You create your orbit to 100 kilometers, and then you orbit the planet until the moon rises. And then you just burn your rocket until you intercepts your orbit. You know, in real life, I'm sure there are no easy tricks like that. Can you imagine how advanced space exploration would have been if, you know, a program like this existed back in the 60s? I mean, just the ability to test all this stuff out in a simulation would just have been ridiculous. Oh, I forgot to activate my engine. Alright, see, here we are. I'm extending my orbit. My apoapsis is standing further and further out. We're at about 500 kilometers now. Oh, almost 600. This is a very powerful rocket, or very powerful engine I have attached to this stage. So it does not take long. Usually when I do lunar trips, I use weaker rockets just to save on fuel. But it does take long. It probably evens out, balances out at the end. You know, I'm using the same amount of fuel. Alright, and there you go. You can see in 8 hours and 11 minutes, the moon will intercept us. I should say, in this game, it's pronounced Mun, I believe. I don't know. Sometimes you see an accent mark on it, sometimes you don't. Everything in this game is styled after something in real life, but it's given like a quirky, cartoony name. Yeah. So as you can see, like I said, in 8 hours, we're going to intercept the moon, and our periapsis, which is going to be the closest we get, will be 423 kilometers, which is way too high. So we just extend our burn a little bit more, and then about 22. That's going to be very close, but we can do it. All right, and so we don't have to wait that full 8 hours. I'm just going to speed up time. I'll just point something out here. It's really cool watching this. You can see the moon is closing in on our point of intercept. Same time we are. It's just they're at a higher orbit, so we're going in a little bit faster, so we can catch up quicker. And at one point, I know it kind of looks like we're gonna beat the moon, but it swoops in. Okay, so now we're gonna want to plan. Let's see. Maneuver planner. Okay, so we're going to circularize our orbit at the periapsis. Create and execute that. And the rocket is going to. What the rocket's going to do is slow down its our speed, so we get caught into the circular orbit around the moon. Before, when we were around the planet, we wanted to go as fast as we could to get that orbit, but in this case we're going too fast, and if we don't slow down right at the end there, we're going to go flying off and do a really wide orbit around Kerbal, and we do not want that. Actually, use this trick to leave the solar system. If you approach the orbit at the right speed and angle, you can use it to launch you out of the solar system, out of the Kerbal system, and into the rest of the solar system. And from there, you would shrink or expand your orbit to be intercepted by one of the planets. I have no desire to attempt a video of that because I am not very good at that. That's one thing I cannot do without MechJeb. You can see here we are shrinking that orbit. It's circular now. Alright. Let's get the sun between us. Let's get between the sun a bit. Okay, so now for this part, in real life, what the astronauts did is they climbed through the docking tunnel here to switch between the two ships. For reasons I don't understand, this game does not have that functionality, so we have to manually move from one ship to the other using an EVA or an extravehicular activity. So we'll pick the unlucky, what's his name here? Kerbal Kerman. He's gonna do a spacewalk. You know, I swear, even though I'm doing a video, I get stage fright because I usually have no issue with this. There we go. Oh, nope. Yep, stage fright. I'm just so skilled, and these shortcomings and failures are just stage fright. Yep. That's it. There we go. Boarded. All right. So let's get. We'll try kinking out next. So this is our Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong. And our Michael Collins left in the command module. I wonder if, I'm sure there's interviews with him, but I wonder if Michael Collins ever kind of resented the fact that he didn't get to be one of the first on the moon like that. I know I would have. Alright, so now we can separate. That's the wrong button. Undock. Alright, so now our two ships have become one. I mean, our one ship has become two. Words are hard. We back us up off here a bit. We can extend our landing gears. Now we can give you a closer look of the lander. It itself is two stages. This bottom half, anything below these orange balloon-looking things, that's actually our RCS fuel. But anything below that is the first stage. That holds the fuel in the engine that'll land us on the moon. And everything above it, where the actual module for commanding is, that will get us back up into orbit, so we can redock with this ship over here, and that'll take us back home. So let's find a good place to land. Let's land in the crater. One really nifty thing about this game is that you can be really precise with where you want to land. I always have issues being very precise in my landings. I can do landings on the moon, but it is very difficult to be precise about it. It looks like we're going to have to circle a bit. You can see there's our command module. I guess the RCS bumped us up a little bit away from it, but not too far. Oh, there's home. Alright, here we go. We're going to get ourselves in position. And what we're going to do here, or what MechJeb's going to do for us, is... Oh, I did not activate the engine. What it's going to do is slow us down and position us for the landing. I landed us in the crater because it's always neat. The moon looks like, between that crater and that one, it looks like the Death Star. Should rename it Mimas. Now you can see we're in position. Red is where we're supposed to land. Blue is where we're going to land at any given second. If the engines were to cut off, that's just an estimate of where we're going to land. Ideally, we want the blue to overlap the red. Let's go look at the insides here. The interior of this command module does not match up the exterior of it at all. It uses one of the other interiors from one of the other modules, just because the mod creator that created this module didn't bother creating an interior. I don't know if that's a limitation of the game, or they just didn't have the time for it, or what, but they didn't. This piece was actually specifically made for landers. That's why I used it. I don't like the other two-person modules that were available. They're all too short. Although that probably would have been fine because I ended up making this thing a little taller than I intended. Oh, and you can see now we're letting gravity take us down. We're only going about a little over 230 meters a second. That's really easy to slow down from. So MechJeb's gonna let us drift a bit, probably to around 300 meters a second, and slow us down. Close, 250. It'll slow us down, and we'll get gently landed. Interesting fact about Apollo 11: they nearly ran out of fuel by the time they landed, because they just had to find the perfect spot. There we go. Guess we slowed down too much. So I guess we're going to drift the extra... It says 2 kilometers. It's probably closer to 1.5. Yeah, I mean, slow speeds, like under 100, 200 meters a second, are just super easy to slow down from. You just let the engine burn. A small engine like that can burn for a couple seconds. That'll get you back down to about 5 meters a second, which is usually what I aim for, under 5. I have it set to do 0.5. That's just like the absolute most gentle, almost to the point where you're hovering, as you can see. Alright, we landed at an angle, but we landed. That's all that matters. Extend our ladder. Alright, he seems excited. You are going to be our first... Oh no! Okay, you know what? Who needs ladders? You can see the gravity's a bit lower here. We're gonna plant our flag here. I claim this planet in the name of the friendly neighborhood gamers. Alright. Salute the flag. Probably should have created a custom flag with our logo on it. Oops. I'm not re-recording the video with that though. This really serves no purpose whatsoever right now, but I'll take a surface sample. I'm playing in sandbox mode where you have like full access to the tech tree, but a nice challenge is the career mode, which you have to unlock the tech tree by acquiring science points. And you get that by doing missions, like landing on the moon would give us like 200 or 300, and then we could use that to buy more powerful rockets to get us to the other moon. That would yield 500, and then that would more points spent to go to another planet or what have you. Extend our ladder here. Unfortunately, it's really cool to land on the moon, but there's jack shit to do on it. Oops, what am I doing? You can build rovers and stuff, and they can go exploring at a faster pace, but there's just not much to do other than, planting a flag, taking soil samples, and I know there's a couple of monoliths scattered around. Those are kind of finding a needle in a haystack unless you know what to look for. And unfortunately, knowing what to look for kind of ruins the spirit of it, I think. Get us undocked here. Okay, so now we want to get our butts back up there. Want to launch to rendezvous. And gonna let things run. I had a problem with this earlier in my last version of this. I didn't have enough fuel. Uh-oh, am I going in the wrong direction? No, okay. I didn't have enough fuel. I didn't have these gray tanks here. I just had this center tank here. That was not enough fuel to get me back into orbit. And then refuel this a bit, and then get us back to home. So I had to recreate, or add these 4 tanks here. Hopefully the weight isn't too much of an issue. I also had to add these solar panels because I cut it really close. I had something like 20 electric charge by the time I got docked. And that would have been a disaster. Oh, crap. My bad. Well, I'll give that up. I set the altitude way too high. It's still set from 100. I'm going to do a near flyby. Yeah, there goes the command module. Oopsie. I'm really good at this game, if you haven't noticed yet. I'm a total professional. I don't make mistakes. Like leaving this light on, draining electricity for no reason. Whatever. So I guess now we're going to get into... Oh, it's going to get close. Okay, so this is not nearly as perfect a reenactment of the Apollo mission as I'd hoped it'd be. You have to get a little... Take a little creative liberty here, just because I screwed up. Okay, we'll do a rendezvous. looks like we're about to... I don't know what we're doing. I don't know if you noticed yet, but I don't know what I'm doing either. We are cutting it really low, really close on fuel, so this is why I let MechJev do its thing, because I would have blown it all by now. You can see below us, this command module, we're catching up to it. What's going to happen is we're going to get, within a kilometer, up to maybe 100 meters of it, and then we're going to slow ourselves down to match its orbit. Hopefully we have enough fuel. Oh, we should. Just barely. If that's not precision, jeez, I don't know what it is. I love this game. So then, now it's just kind of breaking the difference here. Now we're speeding up toward it again. What's going to happen is we're going to get a little bit closer. As we inch closer, it'll slow down. So we're more evenly matched. And we're going to do all this with less than one fuel unit. I guess that's what they are. It doesn't use a percentage, it's total fuel. Alright. 2, 1, and burn. There we go. Set that as our target. Controlling from here. We're done with the rendezvous. Now we just need to dock. Thankfully this time the docking actually worked and didn't take half an hour of dicking around to work. Alright, so we've got... So what we got? Who's in here? We got Philbin's in that one, so we need to get Kinkin back out. Like I said before, this is not how Apollo did it. They did no EVAs to get from the command module to the lunar module and vice versa. The Russians, however, I believe the Soviets had in their plans for a lunar lander that never, a lunar mission that never actually happened. Ended up happening. That was their plan, was to have them EVA between the two. And I guess that's probably more cost effective. Adds an element of the danger to it. We'll take our data with us. Not that we can use it. And usually I'd probably just dump this out here and let it orbit, but hey, let's be green and toss it out with the toss it out so it crashes into the planet with us. Maneuver planner. Return from moon. Exit. We want. Let's do that. Alright, and so now it's going to shut down that engine so we're not doing twice the work. Oh, auto warp. Okay, so now we're going to jump ahead. What's going to happen at this point here, this is a maneuver node, and that's when you start a maneuver at the node. What we're going to do is extend our orbit out to here, and that's the point of moon escape. And then we'll be in the general orbit of the planet. It'll be a very tight orbit, obviously with the apoapsis is way up here at 10 million kilometers, or yeah, I guess it is 10 million. And then down here is, I think I had it set to 30 kilometers, which is within the atmosphere. So. Uh-oh. Do we run out of fuel? No. Okay. I think at this point we can dump that. That'll crash into the Earth. I guess. Now we wait and see. Speed ahead. Alright, I need to... There we go. You can see we are now in that tight orbit. We can ditch this. We don't need that anymore. Oh, I should have mentioned it before I ditched the lunar lander. But in Apollo 13, during that mission, they actually kept the two connected the entire way home, up until re-entry, because they had to use the oxygen and electricity in the lunar lander just to get home. They used it as a lifeboat, essentially. They stayed inside that. I can't imagine. It must have been really cramped. Stayed in that to keep them alive on their way back, because this section here, our final stage, it was just shot. So yeah. Alright, we can ditch that, because right now we are on a course to crash into the planet. And I'm pretty sure this is not how you would do it for real. We are coming in at a pretty tight angle. Pretty sure that would destroy it. And we will speed this up. Whoa. I'll take off that. Take off that so it falls naturally. Alright, that's, you see, our lunar lander is going to burn up in the atmosphere before we are. Actually, nothing really burns up in this game. So, keep that in mind. Our brave travelers. Close that out. Let's deploy our chute. About 200. I'll do it right now. Oh, nope. That is the definite wrong button. Alright, and hopefully it does not, the parachute does not mysteriously snap and kill our Kerbal astronauts, because that has happened during every single test so far, except for the first. Space travel is so mundane, I just sit here and watch it and drink soda. Just kidding. Space travel is awesome. Support your local space program. What? See, where are we? We are not where we launched from. Oh, yeah, we are. No, we launched from here, went there, landed over here. Over here. I wish you could see it. I think that's the... I don't know what that is. I think we're near the Oh no, that's the big desert. I don't know where we are. Mountains? Maybe there's some mountains. Oh, and for clarity, there's no way you'd be able to see the Milky Way that clearly. At least not anywhere near civilization, unfortunately. No, you can see the moons twinkling back there. I've heard rumors that those, if you like angle the camera right and you get the twinkles right, that's where those monoliths I mentioned earlier were. I don't have the desire to find those. Kind of a pain in the ass. All right, we are about 80 meters away from not being dead. And I think when I'm done with this, I'm going to show you the my abort sequence. I think we'll do another launch. All right, here we go. And in reality, there were battle cruisers and helicopters coming from all over the damn place to retrieve these guys. Way back in the 60s, 69, long before I even existed. All right, cool. We will recover our vessel. Alright, and if this were a real mission, if this were during career mode, there'd be a little window that shows how many points we earned, and because we went to the moon and came back with astronauts, we probably would have gotten hundreds of points for that. That's enough to unlock several tiers of stuff. Okay, so I will show you the emergency system. Fortunately, I forgot to move over the astronauts so nobody will actually be in it, but that's okay. Oh no, emergency! Let's see here, you can tilt it out of the way so it launches separate. Then you decouple that. You can see there's our rocket. I'm gonna go blast off and land in the ocean shortly. And all the while, we are going to be fine. Oh, nope, just kidding, we're not. We lost a parachute. Oh, fuck. Mission accomplished.